Welcome to the Music Journal Podcast, where we talk about the hottest things happening in music right now, and also how you can apply it if you're an aspiring producer or musician yourself. I'm your host, Wes Yee. I'm a producer, artist, and educator, and I'm stoked to be chatting with you. Let's make history. All right, welcome to another episode of the Music Journal Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. His name is Bobby Butler. He is a professional composer, arranger, one of the best keys players I've ever met in my entire life. We actually go way back. We met in high school, and we currently live together. We went to Berklee College of Music together, and he was recently in one of the top GB bands in all of Massachusetts, and then recently switched over to its sister company, also a GB band, as the band leader. So I'm an idiot because we already recorded this podcast, but I accidentally deleted my vocals for it when I was cleaning my computer. But luckily we lived together, and Bobby was down to join me again. Yeah. Thanks for being here, man.
We could do this 10 times if you want, man. I don't care.
I'll have you on the fucking show 100 times, dude. I'm down. So that's kind of like what you're up to now, but you want to just let everybody know how you got into music in the first place and a little more about what you're doing?
Sure. So, after high school, to be quite frank, I actually wasn't really sure where I was going to go to college after. But, playing music as I did at the time, Berklee College of Music was sort of just, it kind of felt like it was calling my name. And I ended up going there, and I finished about last year, majoring in contemporary writing and production. So now I work with DAWs and Finale, and I'm doing the whole arranging, producing type thing right now, along with playing a lot on the side as well. So
you're a busy dude, man.
Thanks.
Congrats on graduating too, by the way.
Yeah.
Dude, how did you get into music in the first place? Because I know we've had the conversation before, because I think you started in high school or something, or you started and then you quit and then came back to it.
Yeah. Well, I took my mom signed me up for piano lessons when I was about 9 years old. Okay. Like a lot of young old kids.
Mine did that.
And I actually was pretty into it for a couple of years because my brothers did it too, and they quit after about a couple of months. And for me, I sort of enjoyed reading sheet music, getting better at piano, and I kind of stuck with it for about 4 or 5 years. And then when 8th grade-ish came along, at that time it felt like I sort of wanted to be a little bit cooler. I thought piano was sort of bringing me down, and I just started to be not so much about practicing all the time and getting my chops up and stuff. So I quit. But then at some point in my high school years, probably about sophomore year, only about 4 or 5 years later, I kind of picked up music again, and I was sort of playing along to like rock, blues, jam band music. Cool. I was a pretty big jam band kid in high school.
No shit.
So having that foundation for being able to play piano sort of allowed me to basically jam on any kind of music I was listening to at the time in high school. Now, with that being said, I sort of allowed myself in the near future at that point to keep pursuing music and keep getting better at playing piano.
Absolutely.
And it was just around that time where I had to figure out, what I wanted to do with my life. So, I gained the courage to apply and get into Berklee, and I'm all finished up now, and here I am. So
it's lit, dude.
Yeah.
It's funny because when you're in middle school, you care so much about being cool and like what everybody thinks of you, and you think like this isn't cool, but this is cool. But now, dude, I mean, if you were a single man and you had a Tinder profile or whatever, I bet your first picture would be you playing a piano, right? Like now it's one of the coolest things about you. I think that's kind of funny. Do you think that if you had played a different instrument besides piano, because it does kind of have that connotation, like if you were a guitarist or something when you were 9, do you think you would have stuck through it between 8th grade and sophomore year?
That's a good question. I think I think maybe I would have. I have no idea.
Yeah, I guess we
really
can't
never
really
had the opportunity to
really know.
Yeah.
What was the thing that made you want to pick it back up again after quitting? Because that's kind of a hard thing to do, I feel like. Like once you're kind of set into not doing something, it's hard to like start doing it again.
Right. You know, I think the big thing was just being around those people who also were into music, because I actually gained a couple friends around that time who were well, they were sort of already my friends, but they were also actually into playing music as well. So having friends to jam with and learn music with really helped inspire that path to happen.
That kind of contributes to the whole like coolness factor of it too, because your friends who you think are cool, who are playing music, now you get to be kind of part of that community and that scene.
Yeah, you don't have to try to be cool anymore because your friends are, you know, doing what you like to do with you.
Yeah, so, exactly. It's the shit that you guys are all into. Do you want to just let everybody know what a GB band is? Because I actually didn't even know what GB stood for when we first recorded. And then I like idiotically asked on the show. It's like all kind of coming back to me as we're doing it right now. But what's a GB band and what do you guys do?
So GB stands for General Business, and GB bands perform for private events, corporate events, and weddings. So it's a little bit different from sort of your artist type band that works in the main music industry, selling records and going on tour. It's more of just a band doing covers of pop music and all kinds of rock and, you know, latest hits and stuff for you know, a client who wants to have a party at their event, essentially.
How'd you get into the whole GB thing? Because it's a dope gig, I think.
Yeah, I actually just sort of found a post on Facebook for a singer who I was familiar with, but wasn't really friends with, who was looking for a keys player and a bass player for her GB band. And at the time, and still today, I live with my bass player friend from high school who
I live with him too.
who was in the friend group actually sophomore year, I got back into music with, also went to Berklee. You know, at the time when I saw the post for the GB band, I was with him and I said, hey, you know, this is a really great opportunity for us to shoot for. So, you know, I reached out to them and they were like, yeah. So me and my bass player friend got into it. Yeah.
That's fucking awesome, dude. It's like one big family that's been stuck together, like glued for a really long time.
Yeah.
One cool thing about the whole GB thing, I think, is that you have a really good ear for hearing something and then just figuring out what it is like really quickly. Like scarily quickly,
like music and songs and stuff.
Yeah, and like not only like the chord progressions, but also the form of the song, and you can really internalize it really fast, which is definitely not a skill that I have. So it's definitely something that I kind of admire. Do you think that you acquired that by playing a bunch of GB gigs, or did you kind of have that ability first and then you jumped into the GB thing, or was it like a little of both? Like you had it kind of, but then by doing the GB thing, you just kind of enhanced it?
It was probably a little bit of both. I definitely already had an ear for music. Like I could hear notes and chords before I joined the band. But, you know, after learning some, you know, GB music in the beginning, it definitely became even quicker for me after a couple months or so, because there's sort of a way to learn pop music. It's all very similar. It's especially the chords and forms, you know, verse, chorus, bridge. And I
mean, there's a lot into it though. Like, what do you think is, because for me, I feel like the hardest part is memorizing like little intricacies, like different lines and stuff like that. What would you recommend to somebody who's trying to learn a song? Because I think for anybody who's listening that writes or produces as well, I think one of the best things you can do for yourself is to really analyze somebody else's work. And I think as a GB musician, you're kind of the epitome of analyzing people's work, because you're actually recreating it and you're trying to make it sound as similar to the record as possible. How are you able to just memorize like all the little intricacies? Like, is there any like trick or practice routine that you do?
Essentially, if a pop tune, you know, 80, 70 to 80% of the pop music that is out from, the 60s till today is very, very, very similar, and the forms are very similar. And if you can just sort of keep note of what the chords are to the verse, what the chords are to the chorus, and what the chords are to the bridge, you kind of tell yourself, okay, the form is verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and generally that's the case for most songs. But a lot of music has a very strange form, and you just kind of have to make note of what's different about that song's form when you learn it, essentially. So
it's like a lot of thinking. I feel like while you're doing it, like while you're playing, you got to be thinking like, okay, it's been like this many bars, like I just heard this lyric, so now this part's coming up, like whatever.
It's definitely a process to get good at, I think.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of listening to the music a lot, because it's so much music, and it takes time for it to all, be internalized.
It's crazy. How many songs do you think like in your pool, like encyclopedia brain of pop music? If somebody were to just call out a tune, like how many do you think you have?
People ask me that all the time now, and it's gotta be, I really don't actually have like the number down.
Triple digits?
It could be, it could be. I want to say it's like at least 100.
Wow, that's fucking crazy.
But we're not really playing, close to 100 songs in one night. From this many years of being in a GB band, the number could be 100 for sure. Yeah.
Damn, that's
I
fucking
would say,
wild.
In the first year or two, I knew about 70 to 80. But
damn,
at this point, I feel like it's got to be 100. So
safe to say, like somewhere between 1 to 2, or like even more than that,
no,
or like 150 to 2.
Probably closer to 100 still. I don't know about 150.
Between 1 to 150.
Maybe 150 if I really think
about it. It's a lot of music, dude. Yeah. There's not that big of a difference between 1 to 150 and 150 to 2. You know what I mean? At that point.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to like jazz standards, and I know you play a good amount of jazz too, but it's the same thing. Like you have that arsenal, but then you'll find like the same patterns in the standards, and you can kind of just internalize those, and they kind of translate to the other standards. One of the things that we talked about, I just remembered on our last show that I definitely want to touch on in this one too, is I guess the idea and the concept of going to college for music, or just college in general. Like, how do you feel about, I guess, the higher educational system, like having been through it? Hey, we'll be back in the episode in just 2 seconds, but before that, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors. So for all you aspiring producers and artists out there, I can't even begin to tell you how important having a mentor was to me. I would literally not be where I am today if it wasn't for people like Mike Moss, who is a 3-time Grammy Award nominee. He got me my first credit. And Prince Charles Alexander, who's recorded Biggie and Alicia Keys. I wouldn't have been able to continue to grow and progress in my craft if it wasn't for them. So if you've been listening to the show and you heard episode 19 with Kato on the track, you know he's produced for B.O.B., Joyner Lucas, Hobson. He got token viral with his contest before anybody even knew who he was, and he totally blew up. The reason I'm telling you this is because he just opened up a mentorship program that will transition your music from being a side hustle to a career. If you want to learn the secrets from people at the top of the industry, go to bit.ly/TMJ mentor, and you can try it for free. That's bit.ly/TMJ mentor. Are you in favor, or?
It is, very, very complicated today, because obviously colleges and universities are extremely expensive, and a lot of families can afford their kids to go pay for that, which is why obviously they have scholarship programs and stuff, but it's still tough, especially because if you have a bad student in high school who does want to go to college, I think even having the opportunity to go to the college and stay at the college and meet a lot of other new people and peers sort of inspires you to gain that work ethic that you may not have had in high school, which
That's
would
true.
have allowed you to get the scholarship in the first place. And
Right,
I think there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if everybody can just go to college regardless. I know that, you know, it's a little bit of a waste of some teachers' time when you have a student who's not putting in the effort once they get to college and, you know, flunk out, and then they're wasting their money. But the opportunity to see a new light and be in a new environment can really bring out the best in a student who couldn't afford college and couldn't get the scholarship or some scholarship for college. So
I agree
tough.
with you.
I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely different for everybody. And I think the college you go to also matters. Like, you went to a couple, right? You went to like
I went
two.
to
I think you
community
transferred.
college.
Okay,
for
and then you transferred in.
part-time, and then I transferred to Berklee.
I think one of the things you said is like totally on the money, dude. Which is that being in that kind of environment helps you kind of stay focused and keep your innovation, whereas just
Right.
kind of being a hermit in your room. Like, even though the information is out there, like on YouTube, on like online courses, on the internet, even though it's all kind of there and laid out for you, a lot of people won't actually take the necessary step to actually go through with the process of what they have to do. That being said, dude, I mean, if you're gonna pay that much fucking money for some motivation, that's kind of insane too, especially because I think there's other ways to draw motivation that might be significantly cheaper and better.
Sometimes it's not easy to find those you know, resources for, you know, motivation and
Are you a procrastinator, would you say? Like,
determination.
just you as a person?
I think I'm a procrastinator in progress.
What does that
being
mean?
A procrastinator. I don't think I'm a procrastinator. I think I used to be though. Yeah.
I think that I kind of just thought of this, dude, because I think with things that people don't want to do, you'll procrastinate. So like dishes. You procrastinate. You procrastinate.
I was
learning dope church music. You did not procrastinate.
Hey, what's more important, learning the church music or doing the dishes?
Hey, I'm not disagreeing, dude.
I was about to ask you why you asked me that, but
it's more for the people at home, because I'm saying, like, if you don't go to college for music, but that's something that you wanna pursue. I mean, if you find the type of music that you really love and the people you want to work with and the thing that you actually really want to do, then you're gonna put in the time to learn everything, and you're gonna invest the money it takes to actually do it and make it happen. So I think that's really what it boils down to. Do you feel like you gained more independence too, though, from college, just from like, because I feel a lot of what I learned was just being on my own, which you don't have to pay a tuition to do, you know what I mean?
Definitely, yeah.
Like, dude, I never fucking, like, I did laundry. I never, like, grocery shopped or anything, or, like, I don't know, any, like, adult shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess there's more of going to, you know, even, like, offices, like, in the city, like City Hall or something to get your car, you know, pay your whatever, your motor vehicle excise tax bill or something.
That, dude.
Stuff like that.
Car shit.
if you end up getting a car when you go to college. But,
I didn't have one until after. But
right. No, yeah, same. I don't know, stuff like that I feel like sort of pushes you to feel more like an adult because you're handling a situation on your own. So
do you think that I guess the college system has improved or digressed from before? I guess you wouldn't like really know. I don't know if you talked to
I'm not
other people
really the person to ask. I did hear recently though that I guess like this is kind of crazy that some people are getting something about like if you're born like past the 90s or something, you can get forgiven for college loans or something like that. I don't know if that's a myth or whatever, but
oh, shit. I gotta look into that for sure.
Get on that.
To totally switch gears, man, do you have a crazy story from like your GB days or just anything music related or your college days or?
Yeah. I think the GB thing definitely has its, funny stories and interesting stories. One thing I wanted to get off my chest was, with the GB band, we do a lot of weddings in the year, and usually they go really, really well. And every now and then you can have a couple who might be very antsy and might really, really, really want their special day to be
it's a stressful time,
absolutely
dude.
110% perfect.
Yeah.
This one time we were doing a wedding with my band, and they had requested that famous tune "Sweet Caroline."
Okay, I know it.
Sweet Caroline. And at the time we knew the song, but we weren't sure if we were going to be able to play the song. And the bride was asking us, like, "Can you play Sweet Caroline? Can you play Sweet Caroline? Like, come on." And we were like, "Oh, we don't really know if we can do that song." And we actually have a list of songs that we tell them that we know, and for some reason on that list, Sweet Caroline was on there.
Oh,
so
shit.
the bride is talking to us like, "But it's on your list. Sweet Caroline's on your list." And we were like, shit. So, with the way couples are on their stressful days, we went ahead and butchered a Sweet Caroline.
Oh my God. Did you like really butcher it though, or was it like
they loved it on our end? No, they liked it. They were happy, but it was a pretty epic moment for us to attempt this song that we hadn't really rehearsed.
Yeah. It's essentially your first rehearsal, like run through, but in front of everybody and like the client and everything. That's crazy, dude. Yeah, that's a really tough scenario. But at the same time, you guys are all really good musicians, so I can't really imagine it being like that catastrophic.
It worked itself out, which is good.
Were they like singing along and shit too?
Yeah, they're singing along and stuff. Yeah, there was another thing that happened that same night that I thought was hilarious, where basically we do "Proud Mary" by Tina Turner.
Okay.
And we do sort of a game where the girls get on one side and the guys get on the other side, and there's sort of a dance contest thing. And this was before she was asking for "Sweet Caroline," and we did the whole game, and they did the dance off thing, and like sort of like halfway into the game, the bride just walks up to our singer and she's like, "I don't like games."
Oh my God.
And we're like, "Come on."
Like
dude.
that demonic fucking. So what'd you do? You just called it?
We just sort of finished it up. We just wrapped it up right there. And
I hate anything fun.
I think this wedding's supposed to be fun.
Do you know how much money we fucking spent on this wedding?
We're kind of like, yeah.
All right.
And then the Sweet Caroline thing happened shortly after. So we're at that point, we're just like, oh,
just
dude.
back to back. Fucking Bridezilla over here. That's fucked, dude. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I heard somewhere that the average American wedding is something like $30K. The average Indian wedding is like $70 to $100K.
Oh, geez.
Which is like
I did not know that.
Even more insane. So I guess at that point it's like everything's got to be like perfect.
Yeah.
But damn, that's wild, dude. To totally switch gears once again, what's something that somebody wouldn't guess just by looking at you? Do you think?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't be able to guess that I'm a musician. Sometimes I tell myself I don't have that like.
What like musically do you think?
Musician swag that some people have.
Oh, come on.
I still have maybe part of the skater swag if you ask me. I don't know.
Greg told me. Remember Greg, dude? Greg told me a funny story. This is why I asked it, because I thought you were gonna say this, but Greg told me. You're going to have to take over the story at some point because I vaguely remember it. But
okay.
He told me that you guys were in a class or something.
Yeah.
And the teacher was talking about like church music or something. And he was like, yeah, like you play church music, or like you go to church or whatever. And you were like, yeah, but it's not like the church that you think. Like something like that. Because you guys can't see Bobby, but he's like a.
So I'm of Haitian descent. My mother's from Haiti and my father's from Colorado, so I'm half black, essentially, and or perceived to a lot of people full black, whatever. And yes, that is true. As a musician, a lot of people think that I grew up playing in church, especially as a keys player, like played organ and piano and stuff in church, but that's not really what happened at all in any way. So
You played jam band music.
yeah, I played jam. It's like the polar opposite.
Dude, we've known each other for like pretty long, I'd say now, and I also thought
Forgot
you were
about
full
that.
black just because I never like thought
Right.
about it.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I went to your house, it was after snowboarding, and we're sitting in like one of your rooms, and then your dad walks in, and he like said something to Phil, who's Bobby's brother, and then left. And it was like this like white guy, and I was like, named Larry, and I was like, Phil, is that your neighbor or something? And Phil just looks at me and goes, dude, that was my dad. Which is like the weirdest phenomenon to me.
Yeah.
Dude, we're almost out of time, unfortunately, but there is one question I ask at the end of every episode. You've answered it already, but if you had unlimited money, no strings attached, what would you do and why?
Oh, if I had unlimited money, no strings attached, I would definitely, the first thing that does pop into my head is that, my mother, who is actually, working, she's the director and CEO of, a little university in Haiti called Archipel University.
Dope.
And it's one of the first online colleges that students are able to use in Haiti, and she definitely needs a lot of help with it and investment, so I would definitely put a good portion of it to that, help out the country a bit.
Amazing.
I had my first trip down there this past August, and it was beautiful and amazing, and also my first time to see my mother's country that she grew up in, and I just think it'd be a really good thing for her and the people there. So yeah. Besides that, I don't really know. Probably just buy a bunch of gear. Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. Do you want to let everybody know where they can find you? Maybe your social media, or if you have a website or anything. Feel free to drop it right now.
My Instagram is Bob da Butler, and that may change anytime soon, but for now, that's what it is. And I have a website. You can just search Bobby Butler, and it should pop up.
Amazing. Bobby, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Wes.
Peace. Awesome. That was Bobby Butler, and I hope you enjoyed that episode. So the artist that I want to feature today, he goes by Lucid Trip Music on SoundCloud, and he recently tagged me on Facebook in his most recent song. It was released 3 days ago, and it's called Skywalker, produced by Foreign Made It. And the reason why I wanted to showcase this guy, his real name's Chandler, but he's been following me for a little bit. I'm not really sure which of my songs or videos he heard first that made him start following me, but he found me on Facebook, on Snapchat, my personal Facebook, everything. So he's been tagging me in all his stuff, and I go and listen to it, and I love seeing this dude's progression, and it was really cool to see this as the new year is kind of coming around. It was cool to listen to this. His bars have gotten a lot better. His rhyme scheme's gotten a lot better, and I feel like he's really finding his voice as a hip-hop artist, so I definitely wanted to take the chance to showcase him right now. So give it a listen.
Skywalker, flying in space, we the swine. Your levitates, deep in lines, starting to change. Free the mind, it's all okay. Dreaming I've seen it all today. Never will, we be okay. Stay on the grind till it be the way that we visioned it. Wild and different, time to get her. I'm only aiming high, don't try ducking it. Virus coming, kid, these are the oceans. We have been swimming in. Deep like a cobra, seize your emotion. Breathe how I'm breathing, do, then you can too. Feel it, do. Rock with it now, going so wild for it now.
It's definitely got a vibe. So Chandler, aka Lucid Trip Music, keep doing your thing, keep progressing, and keep making music, dude. And if you got music and you want to get featured on this podcast, send it to Wes at homestudiohits, HOMESTUDIOHITS.com for a chance to get featured. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of The Music Journal. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you got a lot out of it. If you want to know more about me and what I do, I just put out a personal EP on Spotify. You can go to bit.ly/Wes Yee Spotify. And if you want to know more about music production, I teach an online course about it too. Just shoot an email to wes@homestudiohits.com and I'll send you an application. Just for filling out the application, I'll send you a free sample pack of sounds I use to make the instrumental you're listening to and more. All these links will be available in the show notes so you can check them out there. And while you're there, if you feel inclined to rate this show 5 stars, that would really help me out. Other than that, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Thanks again. Peace.